Hello everyone, I'm Santiago and today I'm gonna be testing Boss Rockay City on the Steam Deck thanks to 505 Games for providing a code of the game. So this game is Unreal Engine 4, is marked as playable. I've been playing it a few days before the Steam release and it was marked as incompatible. So why is it marked as playable? I mean, the game runs fine, quote unquote, and some in-game text is small and might be difficult to read. I spoke with the publisher, they told me they are working on Steam Deck verification, so if anything changes, I'll let you know in the pinned comment, but for now, it's marked as playable. So let's get into it with the settings. 800p, XeSS performance, there's also FSR2, and no upscaling. Personally, I highly recommend you use XeSS. FSR2 in this game looks absolutely horrible. It's like Vaseline all over your screen. I'll show you a very quick comparison. As you can see, even quality FSR2, that is a higher resolution than performance XeSS, looks significantly worse. So in my opinion, the only option you should be using here is XeSS. So on performance, so 50% resolution, essentially 400p, but looks okay in the smart screen. When it comes to the settings, everything on low, medium post-processing, so we have some sort of ambient occlusion, textures on low, because the game uses a lot of system RAM on PC, and when textures are cranked up, it also takes from the system RAM to put on the VRAM, even if you only set it to 4 GB on the BIOS. And the FOV, I lowered it from 90 to 80 degrees to have a little bit extra performance. You can lower it as low as 45, which is like having tunnel vision. Not recommended. I would say the lowest you should go is 75 because of the smaller screen. And you can go up to 120, but that affects performance quite significantly. So let's get into it right away. Alright, so welcome to Boss. We're targeting 40s. But as you can see, performance not great. This is one of those UE4 games that doesn't run well, uses a lot of system RAM and all that jazz. So my advice for this one is that you basically keep it like this, lock it to 40, pray to the Gods of Thunder that it stays at 40 with some drops here and there. Right now I'm using a mouse and keyboard, but when you use the gamepad it's less noticeable. So again, my advice, lock it to 40. If you have an OLED Steam Deck, you should be able to reach the 45 FPS mark, which feels pretty good. But it feels too inconsistent. I mean, looking at this, I'm into the 50s, but then I look to a more taxing part and it drops into the 40s. Once I show you the screen directly with the camera, you'll see the 40 FPS gap. You'll see that it's way more consistent. Where do I have to go? So this is basically Payday at home, but actually playable solo, because you can tell the bots, hey, grab the loot, hey, you can also change your character to one of the bots, which I think is the best thing about the game, just the fact that you can play solo. That's something that Payday lacks. But otherwise, in my opinion, it's playable. But playable is good enough, I guess, in this case. The thing that hurts the Steam Deck the most is the low system RAM. This game sometimes uses like 14 gigabytes on my PC, and I kept it at 800p instead of 768p, I think it was, because of the UI. The UI looks too pixelated if you are at a low resolution. That is not native. So I'm not sure how they are going to get that Steam Deck verification, but if that means a bigger UI and maybe some way to decrease the settings a bit further, or just performance increases in general, that would be good. So I think it's time to show you handheld with a 40 FPS gap. Alright, we're now in handheld. As you can see, I locked the frame rate to 40. And let me change the scalar filter because we'll need that. We're going to use FSR once we're upscaling. Sharpness of 0. So same settings as before, 800p, a mix of basically medium and low. And as you can see now, despite my bad controller thing, the UI, as Steam said, is a little bit small. But the game itself, like this, with a 40 FPS cap, I think is a way better experience. Just due to the fact that the frame rate is not going all over the place like before. And it looks okay. I mean, I just kept the medium post-processing to have ambient occlusion. I recommend lowering the resolution a bit further by lowering the base resolution. As you can see, I cannot hit anything. And most of my time in this game is actually on the Steam Deck, believe it or not. I've been playing it offline, because this game supports offline play when playing campaign. And I'm having fun with it. I've been a couple heists, then I take some rest and redo them every once in a while. So this is my jam. Payday style games. I love playing them. So what would be my advice for the Steam Deck? Well, either keep it like this, as I showed you at the beginning of the video, or if you don't mind some UI shenanigans, UI being kinda blocky, keep it at 1152 by 720 with the same settings. So this will upscale it using the system level FSR. And the game still looks pretty similar, but it's more stable when it comes to the frame rate. But this is an Unreal Engine 4 game that just runs poorly. So that's kinda the issue. Yeah, it still drops. I think we are just RAM limited on this one, mostly. Again, as I told you before, this is a game that my PC uses like 14 gigabytes of system RAM sometimes. So it's no surprise that here it will be a limitation. But again, my advice is to play at 1152 by 720, I think it is. It's a 16 by 10 resolution, so you got the entire screen upscaled with FSR on a system level. That looks okay. I recommend 0 sharpness when it comes to those settings. You're still going to drop below 40 sometimes, especially when stuff like this happens, which is the important moment in my opinion. So would I recommend this on Steam Deck? If you don't mind drops below 40 and small UI, should be okay, especially if you play solo, offline, because the bots are not useless, as you can see. So yeah, let me show you a little bit more of the game, and I'll tell you my conclusion. Okay, so now for one of the sections that I do not like about the game, but is the most demanding, because it has more enemies on screen. It's like 58 NPCs to take the territory, basically. And it is like these parts because these are the most repetitive thing about this game. But as you can see here, it drops below 40. I think here is more of a CPU limitation actually. So if you mix CPU limitation with high VRAM and RAM usage, whoa. Well, that's what you get. Drops below 40. So unfortunately, still being a UE4 game is one of the ones that doesn't run great, and at the same time uses a lot of memory. So that sucks. But I think it's playable on the smaller screen. Just not ideal. That's what I'm trying to say. I've been playing it quite a bit again on deck, maybe 3 hours. And I had a good time with it. But you gotta see those limitations while going into it. Man, I cannot hit anything on the Steam Deck. Jesus Christ. I'm horrible with a controller. So yeah, for most people I wouldn't recommend this on deck, at least not right now. They're working on Steam Deck verification. And hopefully that means better performance, but I highly doubt that it's going to change much. So yeah, while it looks good on the smaller screen, it's not like a photorealistic game or anything. And you gotta play at 40 FPS at the same time, so I like it as a single player experience because it works offline. It's payday-like game with actually useful bots, but the performance is very variable, so that completely sucks. And we get 100 minutes of battery, give or take. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did revisiting the game. Now available on Steam. Thanks again to 505 Games for providing a code. And maybe the ROG Ally is a better experience. See you guys next time. Bye guys. Please Valve, we need more cores!